Hello and happy Monday, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to the PHNX Coyotes podcast, brought to you by the one and only DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a 5-star review. I'm Leah Merrill here with Craig Morgan as always. Steve Peters has a bonus day off, I guess.
Nice.
But we're very lucky because we have two fill-ins for him today. It's Jesse Montaño and Meghan Angley from DNVR Avalanche. Welcome to the show, and more importantly, welcome to Phoenix. You guys finally made it.
It was quite the journey this morning, but we made it. Actually, it wasn't even quite a journey. It was just a lot of sitting in the airport waiting around.
Something Craig and I know very well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. You guys in Bedsy, huh? Yeah.
Our draft day experience was something.
So ours wasn't quite that bad, Megan? But it was wasn't fun.
It's a rite of passage, I feel like, to join our show.
Absolutely. I'm just glad we made it.
Yeah. Yeah, just happy to be here.
Sorry Petey's not here. I don't. The truth is,
I'll take it personally.
He
It's
loves spending time with his in-laws. So that's what he's doing right now. And
who doesn't?
We'll see him at some point.
Yeah, like I said, I'll make sure to take that real personally and think about it for a couple weeks. So.
and Craig graciously picked you up from the airport.
Yeah, I was gonna say, big shout out to Craig for being the only person that was on time today. So thank you.
Oh man, but we already have a super chat from Vaguely Sober. Thank you so much. $1.99 super chat with Hart DNVR Hart. So
DNVR OG.
Yeah, it's so funny when like people from the other networks get in the chat.
We hear from Vaguely Sober a lot. So just classics. Thanks for crossing over.
Yeah,
appreciate
absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Well, Jesse, you've been on our show a couple times before.
Yep.
I think people are pretty familiar with you by now. But Meghan, I don't know if a lot of like our viewers know who you are. So can you like just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your background before we get going?
Absolutely, yes. I hate answering questions about myself. But I also understand why it's important for people to have context. But I'm Meghan Angley. I'm not a Colorado native, but I tell people that I am because I lived there since 2005. So I didn't actually first watch hockey until I was in middle school. And it was actually college hockey. I've always loved the developmental pathways in hockey, so it explains why I'm so passionate about the DU hockey program, and now why I love covering the Colorado Eagles and the American League as a filter into the NHL. But my background was I went to DU, studied journalism. I knew I wanted to work in hockey the minute I laid eyes on it in middle school, though. So I've been finding my way to hockey ever since then. I worked in the industry loosely, but not doing journalism up until a year ago. So I'm new to the journalism side of the industry, not new to hockey. Really happy to be here. Couldn't have joined the Avalanche beat at a better time.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, we're really happy to have you guys. And since you've been here more than 5 minutes now, I can give you hell, Meghan, for the way you traveled today. As they mentioned, I did pick them up at the airport, but there was a slight delay, Jesse and Meghan are going to be here for 2 whole days. Yeah. So I didn't realize that there was a moving truck coming to the airport as well to pick up Meghan's belongings and bring them to her hotel suite because Meghan checked bags today for a 2-day trip. No, just a bag. It's just one bag. Whoa. I saw it. It's in my car. If we want to exaggerate, though, if we want to embellish, we can say bags.
Yeah, multiple bags.
Yeah.
No, that was actually why the flight was late. They were having to move her bag from the terminal.
Right. The original plane, the terminal wasn't big enough. So
right.
It was nice of your valet to come down to the studio and sit and watch the show, though. So
Right.
Oh, my goodness.
So, that was what it was. It was getting Megan's bag from the terminal onto the plane is what caused the multi-hour delay.
Wouldn't change a thing.
Is there a greater feeling of helplessness than being in an airport, just like waiting, hoping there's nothing you can do?
So at one point, so our problem was our pilot had hit his hour limit for the day. So that was the initial problem. So they're like,
what about your hour limit?
Right. Well, so we're getting off the plane. They're like, oh, don't go too far. We hope we'll have another pilot here soon. And I was like, you hope you're going to have another pilot here soon? And then it looked like one had arrived to save the day, and they come on the intercom like, oh, that's not our pilot.
Psych.
He's still coming. He has a 2-hour window to get here. He'll be here at some point. And yeah, we're just listening to every flight around us get canceled. Just waiting. Yeah. But the pilot did show up. They got us back on the plane, and the worst part about it is it's an hour and 20-minute flight. We sat in the airport for 3.5 hours for an hour and 20-minute flight. Like, it's just that's the biggest kick in the pants.
Yeah.
Where did you guys get stuck for the draft?
Well, we flew through Denver.
Yep.
Had quite a landing in Denver, if you remember that.
The woman
and
behind
departure.
us puked.
Yeah. Threw up.
No way.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
brutal. It was brutal. That was on the way to the draft in Montreal last summer. And then we took off from Denver, and hour into the flight, maybe, we've dropped to 10,000 feet.
Dramatically.
Yeah, they got on the PA and really said we had to drop to 10,000 feet because we lost cabin pressure. Nobody panic.
Did they drop the masks?
No.
No, the mask
Oh
didn't come
my-
down.
No.
We're all wondering why not, because we lost cabin pressure. And then we're flying, and we're like, they're like, flying this low, we can't make it all the way to Montreal. So we stopped in Minneapolis. They kicked us off the plane, told us they would help us. They didn't.
And you guys had to stay there overnight, yeah?
Yeah, we found
And
our own
that's-
hotel room and
And that's when we discovered Jared Bednar was on our flight with the Stanley Cup.
with the cup. So
Oh my
it was
God,
all
I
worth it.
forgot that
Yeah.
second detail that
Yeah.
he had the cup with him.
It's a
Yeah.
memorable trip.
So I felt like if we had the Stanley Cup with us, we were going to be okay.
Yeah, yeah.
We're getting there.
I'll get you
We're
there.
getting there. And we
Yeah,
will
probably.
not crash and burn.
Was Jared Bednar in the Stanley Cup? Were they on their own for finding a room that night as well?
I doubt it.
I'm sure they had people.
He had handlers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much like Megan's.
I always
luggage.
forget the guy with the incredible white hair, but he
Philip
wasn't with
He
them.
Pritchard.
wasn't
Yeah,
there.
thank
It
you.
was
Yeah, he
another
wasn't there.
guy. I don't know his name, but he was giving me a lot of shit. It was pretty fun.
I think they roll out Pritchard publicly, and then they have like 6 guys behind the scenes that you don't
Yeah.
recognize.
Right.
He
Yeah.
the cup guy played a prank on me because I had posted a picture on Twitter of the Stanley Cup, and he comes up to me at the gate and he was like, "Are you the one who tweeted that photo? Like, you can't do that. I'm gonna get in trouble." I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." He was like, "I'm just kidding."
Oh my
Dang,
God.
that's a good one too. Because that's like doing what we do. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. I didn't mean to.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll
Wow.
delete my whole account.
Yeah. I'll quit my job.
Did you guys talk to Jared a lot?
A
on
little
that-
bit
on
in
that
the
little
beginning,
trip?
On
yeah.
that trip we
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
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 I mean,
we
just all
befriended
stuck
so many
together.
people on that flight. It was unreal.
He's great to chat with. He's very everything he says, whether official interview or not, is like all very insightful. It's all like very deep.
Yeah.
When you hear
Yeah.
him talk, it's
Yeah, he's great. We have another super chat from Victor Miser, 1999. I believe this is supposed to be a sticker you can see on YouTube. For us, we say pair character dancing under a rain of confetti and taking his hat off to say, "You are amazing." So
I just love the descriptions of
we
him.
appreciate
Okay.
you, Victor.
Thank you, Victor.
Oh my
Seriously.
goodness. All right. Well, enough travel talk. You guys are finally here, and the reason you're here is that the Coyotes and Avalanche are playing tomorrow night. So we're gonna take a look at that matchup. But we kind of want to hear from you guys. Obviously, Jesse, we chatted with you before the season started,
Yep.
kind of looking ahead. But maybe the season hasn't gone exactly how we all thought it would so far for Colorado. So first question for both of you: do you feel like there's been any bit of a Stanley Cup hangover at all?
I'll go first on this one, and I'll say no. Actually, the thing that has impressed me the most has been how sharp the few guys that are still left standing
Right.
have looked. I thought, Megan, I don't know, you can jump in and disagree with me on this if you think. I've loved the effort, and I thought their execution on most nights has actually been really sharp. Really, for me, I think the biggest reason for the way this season has started, not that the team's ever looking for excuses, but I mean, they played 4 games with 5 of their top 6 players missing, like 4 consecutive games. I mean, they've been basically running out the Colorado Eagles. Megan's been very busy to start the year, making sure that we're all up to date on who the F some of these guys are that are coming into the lineup. But no, I really don't. I don't think that there's been any letdown from that Cup final. Maybe playing so late into the season has added to some of these injuries or been some of the cause of these injuries. Gabe Landeskog, for example, like we all knew he came back earlier than he should have, didn't practice. I think maybe once or twice throughout the playoffs. Other than that, didn't get on the ice except for games. So we knew that he had pushed himself a little bit more, ended up having to have a second surgery to clean things up after last year. So it just, I feel like maybe that would be the only thing that you can point out that would say Stanley Cup hangover. I just think some of these guys didn't
Not enough
quite
rest,
heal up. Yeah. I don't know. Is that basically how you see it?
Absolutely. I know Devontae was at the start in Media Day was talking about how it was a perfect short summer, but I think talking with Newhook early in camp, he was talking about how that also just meant shorter amount of time to train, get back on the ice, and get into game form for the start of the regular season. And there are guys, you look at the nature of their injuries where the rehabilitation that was needed didn't get to happen following the timeline that was needed. That's
Val.
true of Val. Like, you know that this ankle-related injury is related to what happened to the playoffs, but was also slightly different. So I imagine it was aggravated. And then similarly, Gabriel Landeskog just wasn't where he wanted to be with his rehabilitation after the knee surgery. And so as a result, all of these injuries, even Darren Helms to a lesser extent, is one that required 2 surgeries. And so is it a Stanley Cup hangover? I think it's just a short off season that really pushed their bodies after a rigorous playoff run.
That's what amazes me so much about Tampa, having one back-to-back and then get to a third cup final. That's with what wear it and tear it takes. Do we have something funny here?
And that first cup was later. It was like that August bubble playoff too.
Well, honestly, that was something that I talked a lot about. Very lucky I got to be at. I was there for every playoff game. DNVR was able to send me wherever, and that was one thing that I talked about with a lot of folks during the final last year was seeing that Tampa team up close. I just gained a different level of appreciation for them because you watch this Avs team go through that and what it takes and how grueling it is to get there. And obviously they win, they get over the hump, but just to get to the final, what a drag that was for them to do. Then you pull it off, you win. Now you see the start of this season and how, like Megan was saying, maybe some of that rehab didn't go right. And you sit there, you're like, that Tampa team did it twice.
Yeah.
They
did get shorter
time.
seasons for various reasons, for COVID reasons, but still, it's a grind. So it's amazing.
The mental slog of it was the part for me that was just, I've joked, Megan's heard this joke like a dozen times now, so I apologize. But like, I wasn't playing, wasn't training, wasn't doing the workouts, the meetings. And by the time we got done with the playoffs, the travel, I was done. Like I was tapped out.
We talk about that just doing post-game shows, like sitting in these comfortable chairs. We're like, we're wiped.
Yeah, seriously. It's that the season is a grind. And like you said, for Tampa to do it 3 years in a row and almost pull it off for a third time, incredibly impressive. We definitely have a different sense of appreciation.
Let's dive a little deeper into those injuries. Nathan McKinnon is obviously one of those because I think when people look at it, they look man games lost to injury. Colorado's actually not among the leaders in the NHL, but their injuries have come to key players. So maybe you can give us a sense of who all's been out. Nate McKinnon in particular, what his timeline is. Either one of you guys.
Yeah, so I'll start with Nate, and then you can kind of get into what the larger picture's been. So Nate is the only one that we really haven't gotten a clear definition, I guess, of what it is that he's actually dealing with. I'm given to believe it's something muscle related, kind of in his core. I've talked to him a couple times, not necessarily about that, but I've seen him kind of, reach for stuff and things like that. And I don't know. I don't think it's rib. That everyone was kind of thinking maybe broken rib based on the way he was reacting in the game. Just stuff that I've seen. I think it's muscle. But as of last week, he's back on the ice. He was doing some skating with the Avs skills coach, Shauna Laird, who Jared Bednar just gushes about in terms of the difference he's made in getting guys back up to game speed coming back from injury. So it's good to see Nate going through those reps there. Honestly, I was thinking there was a small chance we'd see him tomorrow. I don't think that'll be the case, but I'm really expecting him end of this week or early next week at the latest to get back in the Avs lineup, and that's the biggest one for sure.
Yeah. Sorry, Coyotes fans, you get cheated. I see Nate McKinnon at the Mullet.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance. That'd
be crazy. That was his return to Mullet.
With the holiday, pause here, we haven't gotten any updates in the last couple days. We could show up to morning skate tomorrow, and he could be there. He honestly, he looked fine last week when we saw him at practice. He was moving well, moving at full speed, taking shots like normal. I guess I wouldn't be terribly shocked if he was here tomorrow. But just kind of Jared Bednar is a very patient person. And he doesn't mind giving guys an extra game or two to make sure that they are really ready. So that's my guess. But with that, I guess Val may be out again now. So maybe they are pushing Nate back a bit.
It's hard to say, right? Like he was practicing with Laird in a regular contact jersey, which could mean nothing. But it is interesting to see because Helm has consistently been in a no-contact jersey, even when he's just skating by himself. So read into that what you will. But hopefully McKinnon is close to return. I know it was probably a week ago that they said he was 1 to 2 weeks out. So depending on how true that timeline is, and they've been really hit or miss. There have been some timelines like with Gerard that were completely accurate. And then even Arturi Lekkonen's timeline to come back was pretty accurate. So there have been some timelines that have been true to form and others that haven't. But running down the list of injuries, the key is obviously Nathan MacKinnon, Arturi Lekkonen, another one. I know the conversation about 2Cs on the docket, and Evan Rodriguez is a part of that, and you lose him for some games. Not having Helm or Landeskog at all this season is another key injury, and then Val Nichushkin's another one that's right at the top there.
He's been in and out.
Josh Manson, too. Like, looking
I
at
keep
the
forgetting
D-core,
about Manson.
honestly, he was, so when he had his injury, the update we were given was a month out, and we were told recently that that was still the timeline, so we don't have reason to believe that's changed, but you look at that D-core, and it is running heavy on that top pairing with Taves and Makar.
Well, then the other name that we left out is Bowen Byram. Another one who's been out. So, so the Avs are missing 2 of their top 4 defensemen. I don't think we'll see Val tomorrow, who's their newest $8 million or $6 million player. 8 years, $6 million. I think he'll be out again. No Landy or Helm at all this year. They've been without, like she said, Lekkonen, Cogliano, Helm,
TBD.
all of them just through different stretches. So it's been brutal. Yeah.
And even just the prospects in the AHL call-ups are getting hurt. Like Bowers went down.
Shane Bowers gets hurt 2 minutes into his NHL debut, misses 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah.
3 great shifts. We'll never know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, and not only injuries, but there were a few other holes that came in the offseason. Obviously, Nazem Kadri being the big one, leaving to go to Calgary. There's kind of that hole in the center position on that second line. How have the Avs filled that? Like, who's been in that role so far this season?
I'll let you take this one.
I mean, I think the attempt was Newhook. That was kind of what they wanted to run with to start. And he has not exactly been put in a position to succeed because of these injuries. He hasn't had consistent line mates. Like just when he was beginning to develop chemistry alongside Nichushkin and Rodriguez, both of those two get hurt at different points. And so he hasn't really had consistency there. And so his role and his ability to thrive there has been really tested. And as a result, his utilization has also changed. His role, what's being asked of him, he's sort of being moved down the depth chart in a 3rd, 4th line capacity. And for that reason, I don't think he's ready to take the mantle of 2C right now. But when they return to full health, I think they run the Rodriguez, Newhook, and Nichushkin line as planned, and that is a possible option for the future. But I'm not sure we're looking at that right now. I think we're looking at the Evan Rodriguez being the temporary solution, because that's sort of what he was brought in during the offseason to do, was to be a flexible player that could move throughout the lineup and play a couple different roles. So I think even seeing Rodriguez fill the role at 2C temporarily is to expectation. But that's why I think we've talked about trade deadline, and we could see this being a team that is targeting someone seriously for the second line center position around March.
A couple questions on that. Do they use these 2 months to evaluate and make certain that's the need, or have they already decided that's the need? And then secondly, I'm going to throw 2 names at you. Everybody's talking about Jonathan Toews being a possibility in Colorado. What about Ryan O'Reilly? If the Blues fall out of this, he could be another guy that gets moved.
Somewhere Adrian Dater's ears just perked
obvious? Up. I'm so sorry.
No, I said so. Yeah, somewhere Adrian Dater's ears just perked up. That's his guy. He talks to us every morning, skate about it. But look, so here's where I'm at. Newhook, I think, was there. If you were to truth serum Joe Sakic preseason, I'd be willing to bet he'd tell you we were going to trade for a 2C at the deadline no matter what. Unless Alex Newhook just went bananas. Avalanche fans forget Alex Newhook turned 21 like 2 weeks before they won the Cup. He's a sophomore season for him. He had, I think he was just shy of 40 points last year. Like, he's off to a really solid start. It's okay that he's not ready to be a bona fide second line center right now today.
Yeah, it's a big role.
Right. It's a huge role. And especially filling it the way that you had a guy like Nazem Kadri fill it last year. I don't think anyone's expecting Nazem Kadri to do what he did. Like, Nazem Kadri couldn't have filled that role. You know what I mean? He couldn't have replaced Nazem Kadri from last year. It was that good of a season. So it's a big role that the Avs were asking Newhook to play. I think the plan all along was kind of like what Megan was alluding to. Okay, can we get him to fit? He can band-aid it here and there. We brought in Evan Rodriguez to be the more surefire band-aid, knowing all along they're adding a top 6 forward at this deadline. The name that I have heard that they really like is Patrick Kane. He's not a center, so I don't know how much that changes things. Jonathan Taves, like you said, he's obviously a name. And then Bo Horvat is another name. I don't know if the relationship was soured too much with Ryan O'Reilly.
Wondered about that very thing. Yeah.
And now, O'Reilly I've heard is a great dude, and he's very, in touch with who he is and all that stuff. So I don't know, maybe he's moved past that and it's water under the bridge. It was just a weird breakup, and I just don't know if you could ever reunite those two, O'Reilly and the Avs. But like I said, I think the plan was to add a top six forward all along. The reality is you sign Nathan MacKinnon to that extension, but it doesn't kick in until next season. You have one last kick at the can at this with Nathan MacKinnon making $6 million a year. And I think I think Joe Sakic and Chris McFarland are going to push all of their chips to the middle one more time.
Yeah.
See if you can't pull off a back-to-back, and then you deal with what you have to from there.
Kane's going to be interesting because there are, as you know, multiple other teams that are linked to him, like the Rangers, like Edmonton. Right. And those are equally interesting places for Patrick Kane to consider
for
playing.
Sure. And the part that's going to be interesting is, and it's kind of what happened to the Avs last year. The Avs were in on Claude Giroux, and they just were never really in the running because Claude Giroux wanted to go to the Florida Panthers. That was what he wanted. The Avs made their offers. I was actually told the Avs had the best offer on the table for Claude Giroux, but he wanted to go to Florida. So that's another layer to all of this. The Avs could offer whatever they want for Patrick Kane. If he wants to go to the Rangers, well, he's going to go to the Rangers.
With his old running mate, yeah.
Right. With Panarin. And I think there's maybe part of that where the Avs are hoping that they can be on the right side of that this year. If there can be a name that wants to come to Colorado and they can use that to their advantage a bit. But I think it was always in the plans for them to add a top six forward.
Well, we've talked a lot about injuries and holes. I know it's been a very negative spin, and it's funny because Karen in the chat says, so you're saying there's a shot, Mine with the Coyotes' success at Mullett Arena. Who knows?
Yeah.
But right now on DraftKings, of course, the Coyotes are underdogs like they have been much of this season, plus 195. Right now, Colorado is minus 230 favorites right now on the money line for tomorrow night. So if you want to bet anything on that game, you can do so over at the DraftKings Sportsbook app, of course. And right now, new customers, if you want to sign up with that promo code PHNX, place a $5 pregame moneyline bet on any NBA team to win their game and get $150 in free bets. If they do, that's promo code PHNX only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. I know you guys literally came here right from the airport, but you can't be in Arizona without drinking Four Peaks beer. That's like the thing here.
Yeah.
You got to try it.
It's actually on my list because that was where you guys did the draft show with Rudo, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's on my list.
Yes.
Yeah.
You'll be close to it.
And it's literally 5-minute drive from Mullett.
Not Megan, who's done the Four Seasons.
Right, of course. Yeah. Where her bags are being delivered.
Yes.
Hobbit Curry.
Yeah.
That's right. You do have a car.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So definitely you're gonna have to try Four Peaks. And we actually have an awesome event with them happening next month. It's the inaugural PHNX Tea Party presented by Four Peaks at Dobson Ranch Golf Course. We're renting out the entire driving range. Come hang out with Big Drive Energy. You guys know those guys.
Yes, sure do.
The PHNX crew and fellow diehards for a night of golf, food, drinks, contests, prizes, and more. Our PHNX Suns crew will be hosting a watch party for Suns vs. Timberwolves. Four Peaks will be out there providing beer samples and swag. Check the link in the description to reserve your spot right now. And for our diehards, check Discord for your special link where you'll save 20% on this awesome event. All right, let's get into some positives for a sec. And we'll start with the surprise in goal. A lot of Coyotes fans were familiar, of course, with Darcy Kuemper last season going over. He obviously departed in the offseason. And, that was a little bit of a question mark coming into this season. So what can you tell us about the goaltending position for the Avs this year?
I'll say prospects and goalies are Megan's thing that she protects with her life. So there's another one that for my own safety, I'm going to defer.
It made me laugh a little because I was thinking about JoJo at the start of the season and the waiver claim madness. And I was like, that was also a surprising goal for their depth goaltending. But I'm glad that he returned because they were really counting on him being in Loveland, and it has come up big. He's doing great in the American League right now. But you meant the Avs. So Alexander Georgiev, honestly, we did
JoJo.
a goalie
we had a little
piece.
experience with him here.
I know. He's like, I
Doesn't seem to have success
drove
anywhere but
down,
Colorado.
I was living out of an Airbnb. He was frustrated. But Georgiev, the real story here. And honestly, the goalie sort of tandem, if you want to call it that, and having two pretty reliable goaltenders, we've described it as like 1A, 1B. Honestly, if you talk to people who liked Georgiev in the New York Rangers fan base, they would have told you that this is actually what they expected to happen for him. And looking at the start in camp when we did a goaltending piece, talking to both Francouz and Georgiev, who had begun working with UC Parkla, the goalie coach at that point, this is what they both anticipated. I think Georgiev had every confidence that he was going to have success at the start here, and there have been some lower moments, especially when the team in front of him has been as injured as it has been, but I'm almost not surprised at the success that Alexander Georgiev is seeing in Colorado. Even though it's an injury-depleted team, it's still a pretty good team defensively in front of him, and he's also getting the chance to assume a starting role, and that is so good for a goaltender's confidence.
Yeah, it's... I actually want to ask you a question real fast about Pavel Francouz. I was told that there were several disappointed GMs when he signed his extension last year. Arizona was one of the teams that I thought would love a crack at a guy like that for like a 1A, 1B. Did you ever...
I'd never heard that they were pursuing him.
Okay.
They were pursuing other guys. But yeah.
Because he signed his extension kind of later into the year last year. And just like I said, I was told there were some teams that were looking at him. I just didn't know if
they may have been.
Arizona was one of them.
Yeah.
What the Avs, I think, kind of learned last year, we talked about this on the preseason show. Darcy Kemper was so much better in the regular season last year than people give him credit for. He was, he had a fantastic regular season.
Yep.
He gets a stick in the eye in the first round, and despite what he says, despite what the Avs say, you could tell that it was affecting his ability to track the puck.
You will never get that kind of truth out of Darcy Kemper.
Right.
Ever.
I mean, like, it was in the press conference where he's telling us that he's fine. His eyes like drooping. He's like, no, I can see everything. I'm good. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, it doesn't look like it from here. I can't see the whites of your eyes in your left eye, but all right, I believe you. But look, he struggled in the postseason a bit, and the Avs were still just outright dominant.
Yep.
Dominant. And I think what the front office understood was, we have a strong enough team defensive structure. We need good enough in net. We don't need elite. We don't need Andrei Vasilevsky going out there stealing games. We need good enough, and we believe that our team and our system can insulate them enough that that's what we need. They went out and get Georgiev, who they thought had some upside. But to Megan's point, Jared Bednar has said, like, look, he's been elite to start this season.
Oh, I
He's
agree.
stolen
And that's
games.
the thing. And that's such a key too. Like, you see this in the NHL all the time. Unless you draft a Vasilevsky or a Shesterkin, those guys are rare.
Yeah.
And it's rare to see guys sustain. So do you commit long-term big money to goaltenders?
Right.
Mostly history says no, you don't do it. And you can find these guys that are ready to take that next step. It's happened here a few times.
Many times.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
is a goalie factory. This is like
it's
an
weird.
underrated goalie factory.
But if you can find that guy like they have, then you're probably okay. And I agree with you. We talked about this on the show all the time. The Avs don't need elite goaltending.
Right.
They're that good.
Yeah.
They need a second line center more than they need elite goaltending.
Their commitment to defense, to team defense, the forwards, and then obviously the defensemen. I don't know if I've ever seen a team do it this well. The third period, Game 6 in the Stanley Cup final last year, you're holding on to a 1-goal lead against the back-to-back champs, and the Avs just locked it down. I think after 13 minutes, the first TV timeout, or the second TV timeout, Tampa had one shot on net in the third period in a game they're trying to get back into. This Avs team, when they're at full health, they can just smother you when they decide that it's time to lock the game down. And so I think that's why they've said, cool, we don't need anything crazy. But now you have Francouz and Georgiev, who are combined, I think, $450K more than what Darcy Kemper is making this year in Washington. And they've had a great start to the season, save for 3-4 games for Georgie? Yeah. Small little stretch there when the Avs were maybe at their...
He's top 10 goals saved above expected. That's a stat I look at. We talk about it all the time. I know I bang that drum a lot, but listen, the basic goaltending stats, goals against average and save percentage, they're team stats. They're terrible stats for measuring the goaltender's performance. But goal saved above expected. Look the names that he's with: Sorokin, Linus Ullmark, Karel Vejmelka, of course.
Yep, of course.
Here.
Yep.
Connor Hellebuck, Carter Hart, Andre Vasiliev. It's all the elite names.
Yep.
He's right up there with them. So as it turns out, the Avs have gotten elite goaltending.
Yeah, and it's, in my opinion, it's looked like elite goaltending too. This isn't like,
Megan, your ride's here.
I
won't stop the whole show. Sorry.
It's not a bunch of cupcake shots from outside that he's just gobbling up. Like, no, he has stolen multiple games for this Avalanche team, and it's been at least as we approach the halfway point, the experiment's off to a great start.
All right, let me ask you this: is Mikko Rantanen? I've seen this chatter recently. A genuine Hart Trophy candidate. What do you guys think?
Here's what's hard. If you're going by most valuable player,
when do we ever do that? with voters?
right. Because I do think that he has been the most valuable player to their team's success to this point in the season. Now, to your point, Craig, that's not typically how the most valuable player award is awarded. But for me, and look, he's got 23 goals. The next closest on the team is 9. Mikko Rantanen has dragged this team kicking and screaming to wins over the last 2 weeks when they've been at their most depleted. I think they went 3 straight games. He was the only goal scorer.
Yeah.
Like hat trick,
to include
a 2-goal game and a 1-goal game, just like all in succession. I do. I mean, he's using his size in a way he never has. He's taking on a leadership role. Megan and I were just remarking last week. He's assumed the captain role. Tough losses. They lose 4-0 to Boston at home. He sat there and answered every last question at his stall. Like he's taken on the true leadership role of this team, and he's putting up the points to match it. For me, look, Connor McDavid's at 30 goals already. Yeah. I think Mikko at least deserves to be in that conversation.
Megan, anything more?
That's what makes it simple to answer, is he belongs in the conversation. Long has been in criticism of Mikko is consistency, and the fact that he has been able to consistently show up as much as he has is why I think he will remain in that conversation.
Yeah. It's been a great start to the season for him, and like I said, if you're reading what the trophy says, the most valuable player, I think that's Mikko right now.
We could do a whole show about Craig's annoyance.
I was going to say, is
I
this
could
like a
go
topic
on.
of discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Among many other
I might
issues.
get triggered if we keep on
Yeah,
this.
many other issues
Connor
with
McDavid
the
is going to
NHL.
win this award this year because he didn't win it last year, and he's Connor McDavid, and he's leading the league in scoring. So it'll be as simple as
Craig's
that.
whole thing
Your
about
boy Tage Thompson will probably be a finalist.
Yeah.
Want to give you a shout out. I don't know who the third guy that's going to be a finalist is. But my belief is that Mikko Rantanen won't even be a finalist for this award because I know the way voters vote.
Yep.
So
just like Craig thinks there should be a defenseman.
It's literally in the name of the position. To play defense. But let's give it to the guy.
Yeah,
with
that's
the
a
most
whole
points.
that's a whole other show.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little more about the matchup tomorrow night. I think last season, which the Coyotes were actually
say it, Leah. Just go ahead
worse
and say
last
it.
season, but
Stats.
they won the season series against the
Did they not
Avalanche.
sweep the season series?
What Leah really wants to ask is, why do the Coyotes own the
Yes,
Avs?
I was trying to be a little nicer about it. Why? How does that happen?
So I actually think I talked about this on the preseason show.
Yeah, but we thought we'd bring it up again.
Right. Well, no, but it's just when the 16-17 year, 48 points for the Avs. I actually think they went like 3-1 against the Hawks that year. Or no, I'm sorry, it wasn't the 48-point year.
But it was a down year because I remember
it
because I'm a
wasn't
Blackhawk fan.
It was a
every
real
time they
down
play
year.
Colorado.
Shotting the standings.
And for whatever reason, the Avs were atrocious until they played the Blackhawks. And it was like Harlem Globetrotter, just like...
It's so weird.
And it feels like the Coyotes have the Avs number right now. And also, I feel like the Yotes turn out insane goaltending performances anytime they get together with the Avs.
Well, the Coyotes also, when they have to save 40-plus shots. Like, Karel Vejmelka thrives when he has 40 shots against.
He said it.
He literally
liked
said it. Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Semyon Varlamov used to talk about that he liked seeing 10-plus shots like early in a game. Like, he liked to feel the puck.
Coyotes get outshot a lot. So they're used to it.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know. Do you have an explanation?
I don't have an explanation. I just think it's going to be interesting because the Avs can't finish right now, and it's been really low event hockey as of late. And so I I think it's going to be tamer than we expect, but I would not expect Arizona to roll over either because of how these teams have matched up in the past. It's been kind of contentious.
They played well at the Mullett too, which, by the way, you guys are going to get to see.
Cannot wait.
So
Cannot
first game
wait.
at the Mullett for Colorado, minus like 17 players, as you just mentioned. But what do you guys expect from this game? And what are you expecting yourselves with all that you've heard about it so far?
Yeah, I'm curious what your thoughts
So
are.
both teams have fun.
Yeah. Just hope no one gets hurt.
No, honestly, I just hope no one gets hurt. And the formula I'm counting on is, okay, you can count on Mikko Rantanen doing something, right? At this point, depth is anything that isn't Mikko Rantanen. So I'd be happy if someone who isn't Mikko Rantanen did something, but I'd really like to see Myers do something.
Mhm.
I'd like to see someone that's young and is looking to remain in the NHL full time, who's also had a little bit of a rough go, do something in a road game where they definitely need some help right now offensively.
College hockey, the arena.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
You're going to feel right at home.
I'm gonna feel at home.
Yeah.
If it could get feral, I'll lose track of where I am for a minute.
You'll see all the ASU signage. I mean, that's all it is.
It's
is
an
ASU
experience.
signage.
It's
Yeah.
an experience. It really
Yeah.
is.
What's kind of the discourse in Denver about it, if any, if people care? Canadians seem to care.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
They
don't
definitely
think
care.
there's as much salty judgment in Denver for the
'Cause you guys are chill.
Arizona
We're chill.
arena. I mean, you guys know I am pumping the tires of it on Twitter any chance I get. I'm really excited for tomorrow. I think it's gonna be a really the hockey nerd in me thinks this is gonna be a really cool experience because you're in the press box 15 rows off the ice. You're in this super intimate venue for an NHL game. I can't wait. Everyone is probably, all of the DNVR listeners are probably so excited that we're here so they can stop hearing me talk about how cool it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I can just go, how it was. Yeah.
Really fast surface too. Like every NHL player that comes through here says the ice is amazing. The boards
Really?
are amazing. It may be the best ice in the NHL. I've had several players
No
say
kidding.
so far. Yeah.
So we were talking about it. What's the visiting locker room situation?
it's in the annex, just like the Coyotes.
but
the
is
annex
it-
is ready now.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's not the temporary setup.
No,
was
that was
4
only for the first 4 games
Because-
before the annex was built.
I actually thought that temporary setup, if I was a player and I walked in there, I'd be like, this is dope.
Like big.
It's huge.
Now, here's the thing: they laid mats over the community ice sheet, so it was cold, and that's really the only complaint I heard from players. More of the complaints came from media, which was
What?
interesting.
And Canadian
Yeah,
hockey fans.
Yeah, and Canadian hockey fans who are still, by the way, out there saying, "Oh, the annex is no better, the visiting room is no better," which is hilarious because I'm going to say this right to the camera. None of you have seen visiting team rooms in the NHL. You haven't been in them. And I have. And I can tell you that the annex, the visiting room at the annex is better than most visiting rooms in the NHL.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of crappy visiting locker rooms.
No, yeah, we'll do plenty of video and stuff from there tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be really cool. And the other thing too that we were talking about at the airport, I think people maybe overestimate how much the amenities matter to players. I'm sure there are some who but it's a nice, clean, new facility. You have, like you said, there's some of those visiting rooms
It's not
out
Glendale,
there. Right.
which basically is what Matthew Tkachuk said to me.
Really?
It's 100 times better just because of the location.
Yeah.
Because they get to stay in Scottsdale. The teams get to stay, in the resorts in South Scottsdale, which is only 5 miles north of the arena.
Right.
So they can go out in Old Town Scottsdale. You've got Mill Avenue and all of ASU as well. It's an unbelievable location, and it's 5 minutes from the airport.
No, I think all the people that are imagine being a visiting NHL player and having to go to a college arena. It's
That's kinda
I don't
cool.
right. I don't think they'll care that much. They played in a lot of arenas in their lives.
Yeah.
I'm sure this is still among the nicer. So
Exactly.
it's all good. Yeah.
Well, excited for you guys, and obviously you can follow along with their content on DNVR Avalanche on Twitter, and we'll give out your personal ats at the end of the show. But
Ew.
we when Meghan and Jesse arrived today, we gave them the full tour of the office, including our beautiful viewing area, which
Yes,
you guys
I
were
love it.
thrilled about. Our
Yeah.
recliners.
So nice.
Jesse charged his phone
Yeah.
in the plug in the chair itself. They're amazing.
We got to upgrade our seat game back
Yeah.
in Denver.
and these
Yeah.
seats too are
Yeah.
also from the
I got
same.
Jesse a nice pillow.
Yeah,
too,
I was
that
gonna
says
say, I got
Megan declined
I
because
got-
it wasn't goose down.
I'll say, her and Deion Sanders with the Louis over here. No, I got some lumbar support.
See?
My
Yeah.
feet are comfortably on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm not kicking them like I'm a 5-year-old on a swing.
Exactly.
You know
This is great.
It's like you feel me, you know? You understand me, Jesse.
Craig knows how
I
to
understand.
do
I get
bougie,
it.
trust me.
I understand. Yeah.
But all this furniture is from our friends at More Furniture. They hooked us up for our new studio.
What
So
a name.
if you're, More for MOR
Ooh,
Furniture.
okay.
So if you're looking for some new furniture this, going into the new year, want to redecorate, check out More Furniture. And here's a fun one with the whole shtick with Meghan here. Free white glove delivery. This is true.
I gotta go.
With a minimum purchase of
We are so building a false
$1,999.
persona of Meghan right now.
This is like I didn't even meet Meghan until an hour ago.
Completely accurate persona of Megan right now.
But for real, More Furniture, you get free white glove delivery with a minimum purchase of $1,999. So check it out. And if you want to win yourself some money to put toward that furniture, you can do so with a little daily fantasy action over at Underdog Fantasy, which is so much fun to play. You can do daily fantasy. You can do the pick'em game. Just choose player higher or lowers. I've had a lot of fun doing it. It's super, super easy and fun to use. You can play with your friends. You can just do the pick'em game alone. Just so much you can do on there. And we got a great offer for you right now. If you go to underdogfantasy.com or download the app, sign up with the promo code PHNX, and Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100, which is a great deal. So then you can use Underdog, the money that they gave you, to win yourself some more money. So it is a great offer over at Underdog.
Money, money, money.
Money, money, money. All right. Well, we have a piece of Coyotes news, and then we're going to ask
Bad
something
news.
related to it. It is
But it feels
bad
like
news.
it pales now
It's
in
our turn
comparison
to talk about
to
player
them talking
injuries.
about abs injuries. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's unfortunate for Coyotes fans who've been really excited about this guy, Matias Maccelli. He went down in Friday's game and unfortunately will be out 6 weeks with an injury.
Lower body, as we're calling it.
Yes.
Looked like knee on knee.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact extent of the injury, but Bill told me this morning he's out 6 weeks. So that's tough because he's second in the NHL in rookie points right now.
Yeah.
He's just starting to get some recognition. He finally got
He
himself
got
a
a
mugshot at NHL.com after a year
After
in the
Craig
NHL.
publicly shamed the NHL.
Basically,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
how it happened.
Saw that.
Yes. And now, it's one of the bright spots of this really difficult season is out for 6 weeks. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
For Matias.
I'll take some blame for that because that was the 4 to 6 weeks. Like the Avs should have just painted that on the wall in the media room there for a bit. Just assume it's 4 to 6 weeks. So we probably brought the 6 week bad luck.
It's like
juju.
playing Mad Libs. It's like choose injury timeline, like upper or lower body. It's like fill in the blanks. Lower body injury, 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
They're going to have to recall someone now because
Yeah.
they're down. Liam O'Brien's out as well week to week. So they're down to 10 forwards. Andre Tourigny loves running the 11 forward 7D alignment. He really likes it actually, but they're 1 forward shy. So we'll see who they call up. Maybe it's Michael Carcone. I don't know. Maybe it's Laurent Dauphin.
Yeah.
And McCartney's always an option. So they have some guys down in Tucson.
What was his Calder buzz? I mean, was it legit? Like, would you have
Nationally? No, I don't think people would have voted.
Well, no,
for him.
but I more just mean like his play. Like, because I saw a lot of
He's
talk.
been that good. He's really good with the puck on his stick. The problem for Matias Maccelli is he doesn't shoot the puck enough.
Oh,
He
okay.
defers so much. He's like
He's Alexander
16th
Kerfoot.
on the team in
Yeah.
shots per game, which is insane for a guy that's playing top 6 minutes.
Right.
He just he's a phenomenal passer. Like I said, a great playmaker with a puck on his stick. He just needs to take some of those shots because he scored down in Tucson. He's just deferring. And I think if he had a few more goals, he'd really be in the conversation.
Yeah.
But now
Yeah.
he's going to fall out of it anyway.
Right. Yeah. No. When Alexander Kerfoot was in Denver, that was his issues. He'd make these fantastic plays in the offensive zone, get himself into a lane, and then he'd look to make like this one last what would be a really nice pass if it got through the 3 sticks and legs and bodies. So yeah, it sounds like kind of the same thing where it's like you're in the right areas, you just got to make that last correct decision to shoot the puck sometimes.
Did you guys know much about him, honestly, Matias Maccelli? I'm just curious what the national buzz is because, like, I don't think there was much. And like I said, NHL.com didn't even have a mugshot of him
Like,
until
did you
last
guys
week.
know about Matias Maccelli?
Are you talking about like coming into the season or like before right now today?
Right now.
Yeah. So I had legitimately seen a few people talking on Twitter like, why isn't this kid getting more Calder buzz? Second, and then I saw your tweet about second in scoring, and so I had seen some stuff like that cropping up where it's like, why is no one talking about this kid? He's second in scoring. He's this. He's that. I recognize he played a few games last year, right?
Yeah, 23 games.
23 games. I'll say because I recognize his name when I first started seeing him pop up this year. So heavy chatter, no, but I definitely he was on my radar to like, okay, pay attention to him as we go throughout this season.
Right.
Now, not for another 6 weeks.
No, it's like a one-person race now for Calder. So
I don't know. Is he? That seems like he maybe would have been more on your radar
this season when I was looking at the points producers in Arizona, and he was among the leaders, but truthfully not before this season.
Yeah,
and it was just like a personal interest in looking at prospect pools throughout the country, like just the divisions and things like that. So stumbled into it, honestly.
See, I remembered him from last year because his last name is unique.
Yeah. We were nicknaming
finished
him
with an Italian last name.
And
he is of Italian descent, but not on the side that has the name, which is totally weird to me. So
I'll
dive into that someday.
We nicknamed him Matias Maccelli, or we were before.
Yeah,
in the chat, but I don't know about that anymore. We'll see. Well, another prospect, I guess, that at one time we've both had, and now he has departed once again.
This is the saddest.
We talked about it this morning.
We talked about this unsolicited in the airport. This is like the saddest topic that we're going to get into.
Connor Timmins, former Colorado Avalanche prospect who came over here, of course, in the Darcy Kemper trade. And I know, or at least some of the, like, I think AJ was really upset that Connor Timmins was leaving. And then he comes here, had more injury issues with Arizona last year and then again this year. Yeah. And then before he even comes back into the lineup, the Coyotes traded to Toronto. So I'm just curious, like, what your guys' thoughts on the Connor Timmins saga is.
So, AJ and I were actually the ones who were doing, maybe even been BSN still at the time, the draft shows when the Avs took Connor Timmins, and we just we thought he was a first round talent that the Avs, snuck out of the second round. And I was telling Megan in the airport, while we were waiting, that first camp of his, he had a great day one. And we were like joking, like, is Connor Timmins going to make this team? And then they just kept making cuts, and he kept sticking around. And then we had Eric Johnson tell us after a preseason game, I think they lost, and he pointed to Connor Timmins and he said, that was the best player for either team tonight. He was the best player on the ice for either team. And it went from like a joke to Connor Timmins is going to make this team as a rookie, and he just kept showing out. He's the last cut after the last preseason game, and then the injuries just started piling up and never went away. He comes back in the bubble, played 2 great rounds for the Avs, and I mean, really, like Megan and I were talking earlier, we were sitting there saying, like, the Avs found a top 4 defenseman that is like set and forget now. There's Eric Johnson's replacement going forward, and then he just couldn't stay healthy. Yeah. They deal him because there's guys within the Arizona organization that knew what kind of player he had the potential of being. And what breaks my heart the most for Connor Timmins is these are all like, this isn't like him not being, physically ready. It's not him being fragile. These are like freak injuries that are like, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
I feel so much for Connor Timmins. I think he is a hell of a prospect that if he can stay healthy for more than 15 consecutive minutes, has a really good chance to carve out a nice NHL career for himself. I was really bummed to see him go in the Kemper trade.
Yeah, it's really interesting here. We never saw any of that level of Connor Timmins. Quite frankly, in his whatever it was, like 8 games he played here, he was not good.
Really?
He was not a good player in those 8 games, and they didn't know what to do with him when he was coming back from this latest injury. This one I'm conflicted about because I felt like they were afraid if they waived him, he was going to get claimed, and they were right.
Yeah.
But they could have waived a couple other guys. They ended up waiving Dyson Mayo anyway.
Right. Patrick
Nemeth's probably not getting claimed if you waive him. Maybe you don't want to do that to a veteran, but it was weird that they gave up on a big right-handed defensive prospect because they're still, they're not unicorns that they once were, but they're still pretty rare guys.
And the Coyotes don't have a surplus of defensive prospects.
If you look at their system, that's a weakness.
Yeah. So, Craig, I think you were the one, maybe it was you, who had put out a tweet a little bit before, like a week or so before it happened, and I think you had said that you thought that was maybe an option for them. And I won't lie, when I read that, exactly what you're saying, I was sitting there, I was like, why? Why would they want to move on from this guy? Like, I get he's had the injury problems and he really hasn't contributed for you in the last year, But I really did the flashes that we saw. You know, we were talking about his WJC performance. He was the top defenseman in the WJCs. I believe that was his D+ 1 year. He had some really strong flashes. Jared Bednar loved him. He was, now again, the Avs were dealing with some of the injuries in the bubble as well, so he maybe had an elevated role. He was playing in that second round series against the Dallas Stars in the bubble for the Avs. He was playing legitimate top 4 minutes and holding his own. I was really, really surprised to see the Coyotes move on from him. And I have a really good buddy who lives in Toronto. He's from Toronto originally, diehard Leafs fan. And I told him, I said, if he can stay on the ice, so I think you guys have a guy who has some real potential.
It's interesting because they felt he needed to play in the AHL to develop. They didn't think he was going to get the minutes. He wasn't ready for the minutes. And I know, look, people are looking at 8 games in Toronto. Oh my God, he's got 6 assists. Look,
right.
What a steal. It's 8 games.
Right.
Slow down.
Right.
As soon as Toronto gets healthy, Connor Timmins is going to be back in a 6 or 7 role on defense, and then he's not going to be playing the minutes. Can he develop in that situation without playing? They may decide, okay, we need to try and send him down to the AHL. Will he get claimed again? I don't know what's going to happen there. The Coyotes might have been right about what he needed for his development, but the actual process of it, just they couldn't do it because obviously he wasn't waivers exempt.
What did we just talk about with Jared Bednar? We talked about it actually last Monday on one of our shows. Jared was talking about how he really has a philosophy that you don't develop players in the NHL. That's what the American League is for, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because we hear from our listeners. I'm sure you guys hear the same. Where it's like, oh, why won't they call up this prospect? He could be so much better than so and so. It's like because that's not developing.
He's
got
the points,
right.
It's not only about points,
And so especially given all the time off that Timmins has had, I'm not surprised at all that Arizona said, I just don't know if we can throw him right in like that. Right. Because the injuries, like that's a legitimate thing that takes steps back on your
right. And people can also say, well, the Coyotes aren't any good. What do they care? But you can hurt a guy's confidence. You can hurt the development that way by putting him in situations that he isn't ready to handle yet.
100%. Yeah.
It's been quite the journey for him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I completely took over talking about Connor Timmins.
Did you guys get to know him or his family? Like his dad's an unbelievable guy. I love talking to his dad. He seems like a nice kid.
A little bit his first year.
Yeah.
But then with the injury, he was just never around.
Yeah, it's tough.
I was just saying, was there anything else? Because I know you watched him a bit more, like the little bit of time he spent with the Eagles.
Well, so that's his name still comes up when you talk about defensive prospects, which this is also very similar to the Justin Barron conversation. You lose a right-handed defenseman, but the return was Artturi Lehkonen in Barron's case, and the return was Kemper in Timmins' case, that you see the ends justify the means, but it's not a loss that isn't felt in the organization whose defensive prospect pool is now so thinned. There's no Drew Hellison, there's no Justin Barron, there's no Connor Timmins. Mm-hmm. They were really counting on some of these players. Now it's just Sean Barron's, World Juniors. I'm kidding. But it's not a loss that I think the Avs take lightly. And I think that's why we are able to look so fondly and root for Connor Timmins to have the career that we think he deserves, because we know how the organization viewed him. Yeah. And we still see that it's possible, especially because we talked about the position that he plays. It's disruptive for him to have had this much injury to start in his career, but it also, as a defenseman, there's still time for him to develop as a player. I think he's just 24 years old. Mm-hmm. That the timing is absolutely a part of it, especially talking about the time spent in the American League. And the Avs have been in a similar position with waivers this season. They just haven't had anyone so coveted that needs to go through them. There have been a couple close calls, but no one that I think would have immediately been claimed the way that I think Connor Timmins was. And you just don't want to lose him for nothing.
At least he won't be in the spotlight in Toronto.
Right. Yeah, at least he can kind of take it slow and, whatever.
Yeah, my goodness. Well, you mentioned the World Juniors. It's on right now. We literally have it on on the TV, other room.
We are paying attention to you guys as well.
I promise. We just watched the Team USA game, and Coyotes prospect Logan Cooley had an assist in that game on his Minnesota line mate Jimmy Snuggerud's goal. Canada is currently down 2-1 to Czechia, but Dylan Guenther already has an assist in that game. 5 Coyotes prospects in this tournament: Dylan Guenther for Canada, Cooley and Sam Lipkin for USA, Julian Lutz for Germany, and for Slovakia, Adam
Zelinka. Yeah, just like it sounds.
Oh, I thought you were going to say...
how you always pronounce Z and L together.
Yes, of course.
Those common names.
We've talked a lot about, those prospects on our show, but are there any Avalanche prospects in this tournament that maybe, a hockey fan should keep their eye on?
This is why the Ryan O'Reilly conversations are interesting, is because they're kind of asset poor right now. It's Sean Behrens. That's who's in the tournament. It's really easy to talk about Sean Behrens. DU kid, and he's a left-handed defenseman, kind of small, mobile profiles like, I would say Charlie McAvoy, personally. But obviously a lot of room to grow there, some details in the footwork there, but I think he had a goal and assist in this game and was named the player of the game from today. So he plays a huge role at DU, quarterbacking their power play, and is the top pair defenseman down there. So they won a national championship.
Yeah, it's a great program.
He's got a lot of good things going for him, and in talking with him, it sounds like he would consider making the move after this sophomore season to the pros. And my opinion would be, like a Connor Timmins, that he should spend some time in the American League. But he's a really exciting prospect. He's so smart. And so it's very easy to talk about the one prospect, though.
This is my point. This is the time where I can mention once again that ASU got jobbed at
So
Denver.
I was going to mention.
It really wasn't.
I was going to mention it for you if no one did, because that was.
It was bad. It was.
DU's a good program, but that was not a goal.
Oh, it's a brutal call.
I could agree with both those things.
DU's an elite program.
Yes,
that was not a goal.
Phenomenal program.
Still very sad for us. Well, we always, when we dream about the eventual Tempe Entertainment District in the arena, if it gets approved, we always dream about a World Juniors one day being played in Tempe.
I would love that.
Unreal.
Yeah, I'm sure the
It's
players
my
would
Super
hate
Bowl.
coming here.
Coming here.
Right.
It's what it was like. I think you tweeted the screenshot of the weather app when you landed. It's like 74 degrees today. Unbelievable.
Perfect.
So I dream of that. I really do. Yeah. And when that happens, I'm putting it out there. I'm going to get my tickets on the Game Time app because where else would you get your tickets for any event? Obviously, you can catch the Avs game tomorrow at Mullett Arena. Grab those tickets on Game Time if you wait till the last minute. Our producer Jacob has been tracking tickets to the ASU U of A basketball game on Saturday, and he gets alerts like they've now dropped 13% in price and like all throughout. So he's waiting till the day of the game because that's the best way to save up to 60% on tickets when you buy them last minute. And the best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in our description. And if you're watching us on YouTube right now, you see Craig's wearing his PHNX hoodie, I think for the third show in a row, Craig. Have you watched it yet?
This is awkward.
But
hey, you can't call him out for wearing the same thing over and over.
I can call him out for whatever I want.
Yeah, she pretty much can.
But
it's all earned.
We have a ton of great merch in the locker right now, phnxlocker.com. And by the way, check out the DNVR locker as well. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, we got some good stuff in
there too. So check that out and become a diehard. You can become a diehard of both PHNX and of DNVR. You can and CHGO. Why not? Do the trifecta. Becoming a diehard gets you access to premium diehard level content, including Craig's 80-question mailbag, which took me like 20 minutes to read today.
Imagine how long it took me to answer.
Yeah. 80 questions for Craig's mailbag.
I saw that. I need to ask you some logistical questions about that once we're done here.
Like why? Would you do that?
Sorry, keep going.
But you also get a free shirt or hat every year when you sign up and every year after, and 20% off merch and events, including that event I told you about earlier, the PHNX Tea Party. So become a diehard today. Check gophnx.com/diehard to join the family. Well, you guys, this has been so much fun.
I know.
I feel like we could just keep talking
for
another hour.
I looked at the clock and I was like, we're probably almost done. Yeah, that's sad.
I'm so excited for tomorrow, you guys.
Any final,
it's a fun experience.
Final thoughts on the matchup, about Mullett, about being in Arizona, any of it. I'll give you guys the floor. Final thoughts.
You go first.
I just have so much to say.
Yeah. I'll go first while you organize all those thoughts. No, all jokes aside and all that stuff, like very happy to be here. Thank you guys for working with us today. I know we, not necessarily our fault, but we definitely disrupted your guys' schedule today. So thank you guys so much. Beautiful offices here. We were both saying all morning how excited we were to get down here and see it. So thank you guys for having us. And I'm just looking forward to getting over to the arena tomorrow, being able to take a look around and just see what it looks like in person and all of that. And I'm also just, I'm anxious. We'll have updates for everyone in terms of injuries, who's here, who's not, all that good stuff. Because last we heard, Val Nichushkin might be hurt. Nate might be back. We don't know. We've been off for 3 days. We're not sure. So
Megan Sweet's ready, by the way.
Oh yeah, we gotta go. We gotta go.
If Nathan McKinnon isn't back to throw a helmet at anybody, I will.
Yeah.
That's a classic moment. That's
I'm sorry, I
fantastic.
don't endorse that behavior, by the way. That isn't good.
I endorse it.
We shouldn't be throwing helmets at people.
Oh man. Well, everybody, we appreciate you watching. To the DNVR people in our chat, we appreciate you. You can, if you're interested in any Arizona sports coverage, you can subscribe to the PHNX Sports YouTube channel, and vice versa for our Phoenix listeners. Check out DNVR Sports on Twitter and all of the various social media as well. And then you can follow each of us on Twitter. I'm going to let you guys say your ats. Megan, what's your at?
At Meg Angley.
Okay.
Spell it, because
Megangley.
because depending on how you split it up, it's either it's
Meganle.
yeah Megan Alay or Meg Angley.
Okay.
And then mine's at Jesse Montaño _
Love it. And as always, you can follow me at Leah Merrill, Craig at Craig S. Morgan, PD is at S. Peter Saki, Sean at Sean _depods. You can follow our show on Twitter at PHNX _Coyotes and follow DNVR Avalanche as well while you're at it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll be live tomorrow for a post-game show for this very game that we have talked about today, Coyotes versus Avalanche. But until then, everybody, enjoy the rest of your evening.